All right, so this is a demonstration video for you on a little bit of color, not really color theory, just the basics on color, using colors, and how best to use colors when you start to decide how you're going to color your graffiti name project. So this is an example of a very basic color wheel. And as you can see, it's very basic because I don't have a good one at home. They're all at school and I'm making this video at home. So your primary colors are yellow, red, and blue. Your secondary colors are orange, green, and violet. And then your cool colors are green, blue, and violet, and any variation of those. So like a yellow green or a blue violet or a blue green. And then your warm colors are yellow, orange, and red, or like yellow orange or red orange. It just depends on what type of a color, what type of colored pencils you have. So the other important thing to note is complementary colors. So complementary colors are across from each other on the color wheel. So yellow and violet are complementary. Blue and orange are complementary. And red and green are complementary. Something that's really important to remember is that mixing complementary colors doesn't work very well. When you mix complementary colors, they tend to look like a brownish color, I guess. Letters are going to look a lot more interesting if you don't make them just one color. So I personally like to do warm and cool colors when I'm doing this, but you can do a lot of different things. So first I'll just show you how to blend warm colors. So really this happens when you're blending any colors. So you would start with your lightest color first and use a decent amount of pressure when you're putting that color down on the paper. And then as you get a little bit further along, lighten up the pressure so that, as you can see, it's starting to get a lot lighter. But it shouldn't be a real stark contrast from here to here. Then I'm going to take my orange color and I'm going to bring it in lightly into the yellow. And then I'm going to bring it out further. And I'm doing it very lightly here, and then I start to apply more pressure. And I personally like to do this with kind of a circular motion, but a lot of people do it in different ways. And then I'm going to lighten up on the pressure with my pencil again so that I can come back in with my red and I can lightly go over that that orange space, and I can bring it back a little bit further. And then I can make this red part out here darker, so that it looks like it's a fairly smooth and seamless blend from one color to the next. I actually like to take the first color, the lightest color, and a lot of times I'll kind of bring that in throughout the whole thing. So that's how you blend warm colors. So cool colors are going to be in contrast to that. So if I did my cool colors, that would be green, blue, and violet. So I would start with my green, decent amount of pressure so that I get a nice good color. But you guys, you don't have to press like this. Like, it doesn't have to be that hard. Okay, so I get a decent amount of pressure, and then I'm going to lighten it up just like I did with the yellow. And this is how you would create value with just a single color as well. Darker and then lighter. Then I'm going to come in with my blue, because blue tends to be a little bit lighter than yellow. And I'm going to come in lightly into the green with the blue. And then I'm going to extend the blue out. And you can see how it's very much turning blue instead of, there's going to be a little bit of blue-green in there. And then I'm going to lighten it up. So not so much pressure. And then I'm going to come in with my violet And I'm going to bring that violet out so that I can actually see that it looks purple. And you can do this, same thing, I can come back in and I can bring a little bit of that green out just to kind of make it blend together a little bit better. So here, these are the warm colors and these are the cool colors. Other color combinations that work really well are complementary colors. So those are the colors that are opposite each other on the color wheel, but you don't want to mix or blend those together. So maybe on the inside of my letters, I would do a blend from like yellow. Let's say that I'm going to do a K. And this is not a graffiti style letter, but you get the idea. So I'm going to do a yellow on the inside, right in the middle. And I'm going to bring it out a little bit lighter here. And then I'm going to come in, I'm going to use just the orange instead of the red. So I'm going to bring the orange over the yellow, and then I'm going to make the orange darker as I get out to the outer edges. So maybe around the outer edge of my graffiti letters, maybe I have a border around that. And so inside that border, to make this really pop, I'm going to use my violet. And I could do just a plain even tone of my violet color all the way around. And that's going to really make my name pop, because let me show you. In contrast to that, like if I were to do a red around the outside of my letter, you can see how my letter doesn't stand out quite as much. So you can see that even if I color in a lot of different directions, I can go back over it and get it so that it still has a nice, clean, even tone. I don't have to, it doesn't look like it's scribbled like this. Okay, because we don't want that. No to that. So if you want to see what it looks like, so if I did green next to red, you can see how those really stand out. Now, if I bring that green on top of the red, or the red on top of the green, do you see how it turns into a kind of a muddy color? That's going to happen with all those complementary colors. If I did some yellow, and then I did violet on top of it, it just doesn't look like a super pleasing color. But having them like this works out awesome, okay? So a lot of people ask, what's pink? Well, pink is a tint of red. So would it be considered warm or would it be considered cool? Pink is just one of those other colors that you might have in your toolkit of colored pencils. It technically would be considered a warm color because it is a tint of red, but I don't think that it's one that is really categorized as warm or cool. Pink is a tint of red. Those are going to blend really good together. Say that I have my K, and we're going to pretend that this is a graffiti letter K. Okay, for my shadows for this, I'm going to use the contrasting color, the complementary color for orange, which is blue. So just like I had showed you in the video, how to do your shadows, where you go down into the left of a color. And yes, I'm coloring right on top of that other one I created for you, so that's not good, but. So I showed you how to create shadows in the other video. Remember, shadows would only be on the left-hand side of a letter, or a right-hand side if you're choosing to do your shadows down to the right, but you want to be consistent. So you can see that by using this, the blue against the orange, it really does create some nice contrast for that shadow. And then, you know, my background, maybe I decide to use something different as like a border around my background. Again, sorry, I'm coloring over that. So maybe I use a green. The colors that you choose are actually going to be really important, okay? So, one last thing, if you happen to have a set of colored pencils that has a couple of different green colors, or maybe a couple of different blue colors, you can always blend those as well, or a lot of oranges. So maybe it has a yellow, orange, an orange, and then a dark yellow. Those all would blend really nicely as well. So I could do a light blue, and then lighten it up. Come in with that medium blue, back it up into that, and then have just the medium blue color by itself. And then lighten it up, and then come in with the darker blue, back it up, and that creates a nice blend as well. And you can do the same thing with these other three, okay? All right, so hopefully that gives you some ideas about color and that it works well for you. I strongly recommend that you experiment with colors and blending and shading, and even creating textures. So like in this background, maybe I took a darker green and I could add some cross hatching if I chose to do that border like that. You can always cross hatch one color over another color. That way you don't have that white background, but you still have a little bit of texture, and it adds some darkness. But anyway, so hopefully this helps you. All right. Have fun.